How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another karting video. Today we're at Bayford Meadows down in Kent for the opening round of the Club 73 Midweek Series in 2025. For those of you who are perhaps unfamiliar with the format for Club 73, basically the finals and the races are predetermined which one you're in. So technically, because this was round one and the finals are done on championship position, this wasn't technically the A final, but I'll get into more details about why this basically was an A final later on in the video. The format for this event was a 5-minute qualifying, as opposed to the rest of the rounds where it's a 5-minute practice, but I'll get into more detail about that in a second, followed by a 30-minute race. So a nice long race, which is really why I like the format at Club 73. It means that you can really bed yourself into a race, and it's one of the sort of longer formats that you do, I guess, without having to worry about, endurance rules like pit stops and refueling and all that good stuff. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with Club 73, firstly, you should definitely check it out because it's a fantastic series. I'll leave a link to the event page in the description. However, the format for Club 73 is that there are 4 categories essentially. So drivers are seeded down to their category. For example, if you're a very, very quick driver, you're in the Super Pro category, which is what I am currently in. If you're then the next one down, you're in Pro, and then the one after that is Club and Plus, which was the category that I was in when I first started racing in Club 73 a couple of years ago, and then the Club and Class for some of the heavier drivers and for some of the new guys as well. But I've just shown you the fastest lap I set in qualifying, but there were only 3 laps. Put us P7 out of P12 on the grid, which wasn't fantastic, to tell you the truth, and already we're getting into the race. Now, I've been to Bayford Meadows a couple of times before. In fact, the first time that I came here was actually the first time I ever drove a Club 100 or BUKC kart. Came all the way back in October 2021, or was it November 2021, for my BUKC license test day, basically, where you have to be assessed. So I've driven Bayford in the Club 100 karts, although it was quite a long time ago, and I've also done a few rounds of Club 73. I think this is my 4th one at Bayford. However, this is the first round I've done using the new karts. So before they had a different type of kart. I'm not an expert on chassis or anything, so I couldn't tell you even what they were. But these are new sort of SODI karts, the type you'll find at Daytona, Milton Keynes, those kinds of venues, for example. And during qualifying, I felt that I was struggling a bit. Like if you go back and rewatch that qualifying lap, I was behind Rob Garud, who's actually a pro driver, albeit he is a local at this track, so he is very adept at Bayford. However, I was really struggling to stay with Rob, and the only reason I caught up to him in the first place during qualifying was that he'd backed off to get some clean air. So I was wondering whether it was just the difference in karts, or whether it was Rob's experience, all that kind of stuff, or whether I was actually pretty off the pace. And you can see immediately in the first few laps of this race, I've been completely dropped by not only the front runners, but also some of the guys in the mid-pack as well. I've just been overtaken by Jack Frey there, who's one of the, I believe he's one of the marshals and test drivers at Butmore Park. He works with Clint, but I may be mistaken. Jack, if you're watching, please either confirm or deny this. Yeah, moving on to lap number 9 now, and I'm just continuing to fall down the order. That's Chris Glisbor, who's just got past me there. And the reason for this, the reason why I was struggling so much on a track that in the past I've actually done very well on, my only Club 73 A final win to date was during the midweek series of this round a couple of years ago. However, that was during the summer months. However, I was really struggling with the kart balance in this race, and I know, as I think I'm going to try and hold on to Chris as best as I can, and I know all karts are meant to be equal and all that good stuff, and I know it's such a cliche to blame the kart, but I was really struggling with the balance of this kart. Basically what it would do is, especially going into this corner for example, is through high speed corners it would understeer a lot, and the camera placement on the nose probably isn't the best place to show you. It would be better if I put it on the helmet, as I'm going to size Chris up here for a move and send him back down the inside. But it would understeer a lot through high-speed corners, but then it would oversteer quite a lot through low-speed corners, so pretty much the opposite of what you want, the balance moving all over the place. And once I'd been overtaken by Chris initially to go down into P9, I realised at that point that P8, which is the position that I was in before, was the best I was going to get. So even though it is a long race, at some point you have to decide what time you start defending, start attacking. So that's why I went for that move back on Chris. However, he's sent me and he's got the move done, and he's been followed through actually by Lawrence Hardwick in the centre helmet there going into that corner. But actually off to the side, you could have just seen Clinton Bell rejoining the track after a little incident with the aforementioned Jack Frey, who ended up getting a penalty for that, a time penalty. So me going from 8th to 9th to 10th and then back up to 9th, all by being overtaken and overtaking different drivers all in the space of a few corners. However, Clint is immediately, oh sorry, it's not Clint who's going to go up my inside, the driver in the black suit, who's, I believe he spoke to me afterwards. I apologise for not remembering your name, but straight up the inside. And at this point, you know, I'm getting a little bit tired of being overtaken, so if I can, I'm going to try and get this position back. And I don't think I'm driving particularly badly, to be fair, in this final. I'm trying to do the best I possibly can with the car, and I was actually speaking to Jake Everest, who had this car in the final before me, and he sort of said the same thing about the balance. But I get a nice little switchback move there, quite similar to the move that I pulled on Chris a couple of laps ago to move me back up into P9. But you can just see that as we fast forward 10 or so laps, even though Chris and Lawrence have been battling up ahead, they've just stretched away their advantage. And Clint, despite rejoining from the grass, is now back in front of me. If all things were equal, then Clint would start to pull away here. However, as Clint likes it to be known very widely, he does weigh a significant amount more than the threshold for Super Pro. So he weighs approximately 100 kilos as opposed to me at about 75, so he was really struggling with acceleration and top speed, especially going down the main straight. So I was able to hook up that final corner nicely and just pretty much breeze past him. But we are getting into the later stages of this race now, only a few laps to go, and actually just out of camera there, Clint actually sent it up my inside and made contact and then proceeded to give it back. So you can always count on Clint to do some nice respectful racing. But I know at this point that P9 out of the 12 is the best that I'm going to get. And remember, the other driver in the black suit who overtook me as well, he is just behind us in this train, so he is just there. But Clint's literally going to pull the exact same move that he did on that previous lap, and that is because the slow speed corner heading onto that back straight, I was really struggling with oversteer in the slow speed, although maybe it was just a skill issue there, but I don't think it was. Good thing about this kart though was that it was good on the brakes and had good straight line speed as well, so I was also able to hook up that final corner correctly. And after going on the inside into turn 1 on the previous lap, I'm now going to sweep all the way around the outside with just 5 laps to go. But again, I'm going to try and be as economical as possible with how much I defend. And actually this corner here, the track conditions were dry, although it was a very, very cold night, but that corner we've just went through was the only corner on the track that was still a little bit damp. So if you were defending the inside line there, you were going over a bit of a damp patch. But now Clint's learnt his lesson, and he's decided not to wait for that corner on previous laps, as I was able to defend from it, which we skipped past. However, Clint now up the inside, and this long left-hander is what I was really talking about with struggling with understeer. And I wish I'd put the camera on my helmet for this race, because you would have seen that my inputs were going into turn 1. I was basically fully locked, and I was still understeering like crazy through turn 1. You can never really go for a move into that final corner, as it is just so fast, and if you're quicker through that final corner, you can set it up better to get a run down the main straight, as I'm doing. Again, down the inside, just 2 laps to go now, and I'm aware of how close we are to the end of the race now, so I'm going to start defending pretty hard, because I want to keep this 9th position, because even though it's not the best way to start the season, the way that the points in Club 73 work is that you get points for the position regardless of how many people were in the race. So for example, there were 12 people in my race tonight. However, when we go to some of the tracks that have bigger occupancy, such as Wilton Mill for example, or Red Lodge, even finishing 9th would put you sort of upper midfield. So it's really important to try and get every point you can, as that's really crucial towards the end of the season, as it can be very, very close for titles in this series. On to the final lap now. In previous years, I've actually been lunged at that final lap into turn 1. I actually lost a race win this time last year because of that. However, I learnt my lesson and went semi-defensive into turn 1, although Clint, suffering down the straight, probably wasn't in a position to do anything. And you can see just how defensive I'm having to go. This corner, you had to make sure you got on that dark grey tarmac, as it was a lot more grippier than the sort of brown tarmac that you're seeing. This section here was my weakest sector, and you can actually almost feel the back of the kart moving around. I'm going to move all the way over to the left-hand side here to sort of white line defend going into this long left-hander. There's not really a huge amount you can do around the outside going into that corner. Bayford, if you know how to defend it and you're not miles slower than the person you're attacking, it is a place that you can both make good moves and also defend well. But we're going to round the final corner here, and at this point I know that I've done enough to cross the line to secure the 9th place. So probably not ideal, and it was quite a long drive to get down to Sittingbourne tonight for this race, but every little helps, and not a bad way to start off the season. Clean battle in the end with Clint and the other driver. But that's it, guys. Thank you all so much for joining me for another video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.